In this Raspberry Pi Pico smart car lesson, we are going to learn about 10 lessons or 10 topics about Python programming. These are the basic Python programming that we will use to control this smart car. Welcome to Raspberry Pi Pico Smart Car course by Robojax. My name is Ahmed Shamshiri and I will be your instructor for this course. This course is based on SunFounder's Raspberry Pi Pico 4-wheel drive car kit. Besides this 10 lesson course, the kit has full documentations, step-by-step instructions, wiring diagrams, Python codes, and example projects available for download. The car can be controlled using mobile app for mobile or tablet, where you can control the car fully forward, backward, turn right, turn left, and also you can turn on and off the light. You can set the power of the motors. You can see the speed in meter per second. You can see the radar obstacle avoidance data where the obstacle is. Also, you can see the line tracking or a halo deep sensor data. It can track a line or follow the line. It has cliff detector and it can follow your hand, and it can avoid obstacle and drive. The kit is available for purchase on SunFounder and major online stores. The link to purchase the kit is below this video. Now, in order to work with our robot efficiently and understand majority of the codes, we need to learn some Python. And I'm going to show you some MicroPython codes. This is not a full Python because we are using just portion of it that is needed for this. And so I'm going to explain in 10 lessons, maybe 11 or 12 lessons with multiple examples so you can understand the Python code better. It will help you in this project and in other projects that you work with Raspberry Pi or Python language. This line is comment. For example, I said this is lesson 1 and we put the hashtag or hash or number sign, some people call it, and this line is defining a variable called age here, and the value is 23. So we put a text here that's not reserved. For example, print is part of code that is used by Python, and any of these, for example, for range, n, you see, any of these things that are reserved, you cannot use them. Or if I come here at the top, for example, the word import, as, so these are reserved, so we cannot use them. But other than that, you can use it. So these variables are holding the value that you assign. Now this is integer, and integer is assigned to age. And the next line, we have defined a variable called days equal age. It says take age, multiply by 365. So if somebody is 23 years old, times 365 will be number of days for that person. This line, if we want to print any variable, we just say print and then put the variable name inside it and print. Now if we run this, because the age is 23, it will print 23 in here. I'm running it again, so it printed. The result of execution will be displayed here if it prints something. If you want to print just a text, for example, age, like this does a calculation, but it doesn't do anything, and we print this word age. Now if we want to print that age here, put a comma and then run it. You see age is 23, age 23, and let's put here number of days, put comma and put something else. If you want to put your own text, make sure to put it inside double quotation. Number of days, and then put comma, and now let's put this variable days here. So how do we know the difference between age and age? If you don't put quotation, it means it is a variable and must exist. Now if I run this, it says age 23, number of days. So this line, age 23 and number of days 8,395. Now if I put here tool, for example, which is it does not exist, if I run it, I will get error here. Error, name tool is not defined, because you cannot use it if something is not defined. Now if you want to define a text, for example, name, we have to put it inside double quotation. For example, my name Ahmad, and then if you want to print it, print name, and if I run it, you will see that was the first line that was printed by this, and then Ahmad. Now let's see if we can put single quotation and run. It will work as well. If you want to define a decimal value, for example 23.5, that's incorrect for age, but let's just test it. You see it's just holding it and it will print it for you. Let's fix it because that's wrong. And now this is lesson 2. We call it if statement, so we have to, sometimes people call it conditional statement. Now we have defined a variable called age with a value of 16, and we define our if statement with if, and we put some condition. The condition here, it says age is greater than or equal 17. If age is greater than or equal 17, if this condition is true, then this colon, and below this we put a little space and we print it. So this means if this condition is true, execute everything that is have spaced from the left. So this one says if the person is above 17 or higher, the person can drive. Else, then we put condition else with a line with if with the same column. There is no condition, which means otherwise too young to drive. Now let's click. It says too young to drive. Now if I change it to 23, this person can drive because this condition is true. It will be executed. And here is lesson number 3. We are looking at a for loop. We have defined a variable called age as before, and here we define for. We start with a word for x. X is our variable. We say for x in range, so we put in and we put range, and here we put a number. In this case I put age here, so this means 4, and this means that x becomes 0, 1, 2, 3. So it means go 4 times, whatever is here. If I put here 4, so you can understand it better. So then we say print x. This x is being printed 0, 1, 2, 3. And if I put here 5, it goes up to 4 because it says go 5 times. And when we say 5 times, it starts from 0 to 4, that's 5 times. The same as for loop and while loop. Don't forget this, and don't forget the space. So if I put the space, even one space, it will work. But if I remove it, then we get problem. So keep in mind that space is very important here. Now I'm copying the same thing, and let me remove that edge. I'm copying here, and I say from 2 to 6. Let's go from 0 to 5 here. I forgot the comma, so we put comma 0 to 5. So that was the first one. Let's just print. Now I put this after the loop, just at the beginning of the line. So after the first loop, we have this, and we know that this is the second loop. It starts from 0 to 4. The other one was also from 0 to 4. So these two are exactly the same. But how about if I start from 1? It starts from 1 to 4. Now it doesn't mean that we want 5 pieces. We want from 1 to 4. Subtract 5 minus 1, it will be 4. If I put here 20 and here 25, now we will expect 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just subtract these two and you will get the number you want. And if you want it from 1 to 25, just run, and you see it goes from 1 to 24, so 1 less. Now let's learn about while loop. While loop is a type of loop. Until the condition is true, it will execute whatever you put with indented value, for example, up to here. This print is not part of the loop, but the rest, these are all part of the loop. So this portion that I've highlighted will be executed as long as this condition is true. Now if you pay attention here, x is 9, and here we say while x is greater than 5. So this is true, then it will print this text with double quotation. We know it now that it's a text, and we put comma if you want to put a variable x. Now it will print x, and this line we are decrementing or subtracting 1 from x. So it means 1 x, this means x minus 1. And this is now printing the same thing, x printing this for us, so we know what we have done, and we print the value and it says done. Now let's run the code, and here as you can see it says x, first x is 9, and then the next line this is printing that line, and then this line is subtracting it, so it becomes 8, and this line is printing it, so it prints it x minus 1, it is 8, and then it comes back and it prints the actual. This line is printing this x, and then this line is printing it after that, which is 7, and then 6, and then 5. And when it is 5, it comes back here, x is 5, 5 is not greater than 5, and it will exit. And then we print this done, so we know that while loop is finished. So you understood now that while loop, and as long as the condition is true, will run. And don't forget this colon. And here, if you want to do something, and for example, while true, this true means automatically true, so that's our condition. So it means it's true forever, and then put here, let's say, print hello, but this will cause the computer to crash unless you stop it. Let's put it here. Just hello. I'm running it, and you can see it's just printing hello like crazy, and unless I stop it. So this will go forever and ever. here this function has been defined as hello. We put the word def or define, and we put the name, opening and closing parenthesis, and then colon. And below this, until we come back to the beginning of the line, everything is considered to be part of this function. And this function is just print this word hello and welcome to Robojax. Now this is the definition of the function, and this line is invoking it or using it. So when we invoke the function to do whatever it needs to be doing, we just put the name of the function, and if it's printed, it will print it. If you want to put it part of the calculation, we will do that, which will come in the next example. Now if I run this, it just prints this. So that is first example of simple function. And here I've defined the new function def days. So this function has an argument. The hello did not have any argument, but this one has an argument. It receives something. And the same way colon, and these are the tasks that this function does. So it gets the year and multiplies it by 365, and the result will be stored in a variable called days, and we say return days. So this is just returning. Now what it returns mean? When we invoke or call this, it brings us back this number. It doesn't print anything. So if you run it like without that, if you run it for example like this, you could, but this will not do anything. It will not print nor it does anything, but the calculation will be done. But in order to use it for this demonstration, I'm using days print, and we say days 10. So this gets 10, passes to this function which is in here. So that 10 when it comes here, it becomes year, and 10 times 365 will be 3650, and we print this in 10 years. So the number with this text will be printed. Let's run it. As you can see, it says 365. The result of this is just this number, days in 10 years. This was the way to define a function with a return variable. Now this function is called seconds. This will get the year, and inside this function it calls the other function called days. So it gets the year and it passes the year to this function called days in here, and it will get the number of days, which is 365 days, because if it is 1 year, and then it multiplies it by 24, which is 24 hours in a day, and then multiply by 60 seconds, that's 24 hours a day, 60 minutes, and then 60 seconds. So that will be total number of seconds in a year. Let me run it, and these are the number of seconds in a year. So I should put here seconds in a year. So here we say we invoke this function called seconds with 1. So the 1 comes here, it becomes a variable year, and we pass this year or 1 to the days. It goes here, the days comes and multiply by 365, which is 365, and returns it back. When it comes back, it multiplies by 24 to get number of hours, and then multiply by 60 to get number of minutes, and then by 60 to get number of seconds, and it was printed. If somebody is 18 years old, and if we invoke it, so this many seconds in a 18 years. Let's fix that properly. In 18 years. And this is lesson number 7. We're going to learn about list. When we have multiple values, for example, this is mark of someone, 87.5, 95.0, and 70.2. So 3 items, each separated with comma, and we put a square bracket at the beginning and end. This is a list similar to array, and this is the name for this. Each element, this is element 0, or in terms of index, we call it index 0, index 1, and 2. So this is 0, 1, 2. And If we want to get the length of it, one way would be to use len. We use len, and then we put the name, and it will print it. Now let me remove this and just run it. From here I've selected local Python. If I run it, it says this, it prints this text, length of marks is whatever is this printing, so 3. So it is telling us that we have 3 items in this. Now if we want to print one of the elements, we just say, let's say if we want to get one of the elements, we just say marks and then 0. Now this will get this element. Now in the next line it should print 87, and if you want this one, it will be 2, because this is 0, this is 1, and that is 2. It will print it for us. And now I'm using this for loop, and this time I'm changing I from 0 up to the length of this list, which is 3. So this is as if I type here 3. So I becomes 0, 1, 2, and every time it changes, I print it here as I print the value of I, and also I'm printing the actual value by putting I inside this. So this is like that. When I becomes 0, I type here marks 0, it gets this element, it becomes 1, it brings this one. When I becomes 2, it will print that. Let's run it. And these are the result of this portion of the code. So I is 0, mark is 87.2. When I is 1, mark is 95. And when I is 2, mark is 70.2. So this is part 2 of lesson. Now we have defined here, instead of numbers, we have defined a string here. For that we have to put double quotation or single quotation at the beginning and end of each word. For example, this is for our robot car: forward, back, left, right, top. And let's just print the length of it first. The length, this len will give us the length 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this for loop goes like previous example, move whatever value we have, and it will print the move with I. Move 0 prints this one, move 1, move 2 and 3, and here it has printed forward, backward, left, right, and stop. Now I've added move.pop. This will remove one item from the end, and let's just print it. You see, when this loop is done, we say for loop done. So we know that was done, and it will print it after that. Now for loop was done. As you can see, we have forward, backward, left, right, but stop is missing here. The reason for that is we used pop. So one item was popped out of the list. Now if we do something like this, and this will add append clef. It means append to move this new string clef. Now when I run the code, as you can see, it shows forward, back, and right, because after that stop was removed with this code, but we have also clef now. So this way we can add an item at the end of the list. Move, let's say 2. It's just an example. Now this means go get the element number 2, 0, 1, 2. This left will change to fly. and let's just print it again. So this is loop number 4. I'm running it, and as you can see, number 2 has changed to fly. So this way you can update an element in a list. Now we are going to learn how to work with pens. In order to work with pens, we have to import these, machine and import pen. So from machine, we import pen. And this pen is now imported. We use pen, and this is number of pen, and then pen.out. So pen number 1 will be defined as output, and we store the result here as pen 1. Every time we need it, we refer to this object. And this means pen 2 as input. Now pen 2 is as an input, and when you want to work with it, every time you refer to this one and change it. For example, you want to change the state of this pen to on, so we say pen 1 on. So pen 1 would be on. And if you want to do pen 2 on, just say pen 2 dot on. It will turn on that pen. It will output 1 to that pen. At that pen, for example, pen 2, the output will be 1. 1 means 3.3 volts. And this pen is now imported. We use pen, and this is number of pen, and then pen.out. So pen number 1 will be defined as output, and we store the result here as pen 1. Every time we need it, we refer to this object. And this means pen 2 as input. Now pen 2 is as an input, and when you want to work with it, every time you refer to this one and change it. For example, you want to change the state of this pen to on, so we say pen 1 on. So pen 1 would be on. And if you want to do pen 2 on, just say pen 2 dot on. It will turn on that pen. It will output 1 to that pen. At that pen, for example, pen 2, the output will be 1. 1 means 3.3 volts. Off means 0. When you send off, the pen will have the value of 0. This LED here with 1 resistor, this can be 150 ohm to 330 ohm. This is an LED, and I've used the long pen. This is longer on this side, and the short pen is connected to the resistor. So this is positive. It goes and comes to this resistor. I've connected it to pin ground and GP22. Ground is gray, and the GP22 is white. So this white is my positive. It's coming to the positive pen, to the longer pen of LED, and then this gray is coming to the other one. And here I have imported first time because we need it, and in this line I've defined pin 22 as pin 22. I could also call it LED. Defined pin 22 as output, and I named it LED. I've imported time at the top because we need it, and in this line I've defined pin 22 as output, and I named it LED. And in this line we say LED on, so this will send 3.3 volts to this pin 22, and then we use time because we imported it in here at the top. Time.sleep for 1 second, so it will keep it for 1 second, and then we turn it off for 1 second and turn it on for 1 second and then turn it off. This I could just remove it because it will be off forever. Now let me run the code. On, off, on, and then off, and done. As simple as that. This is example number 9. We have defined here a list called pins. Let's say pin 5, 10, 15, or 20, and you want to work with them. This is just an example, but we want to learn about enumerate. When we want to have two different values, for example, in this for loop we have I and we have comma. In the previous example there was no comma, and then we have pin. We say enumerate from pins. This pins, it will assign them as a value. We get them, and the value will be in this pin variable, and this line is just printing I and pin. So this way we have two values that you can work with. Now you see, in previous example we used it like that, but now we can use pin, and every time pin changes inside this loop. Let's run it. As you can see, 0 is 5, 1 is 10, 2 is 15, and 3 is 20. So this is very useful in many applications. We just use the name of that and we can do something with it. And now let's work with time. I've imported import time. We use time.getTime. So let's just run it. Let me go to the local computer and then run it. Now from local computer it will print it like this: time.struct time, that is time year, time month, and this is day 29, and then hour 14, and minute 22, second 9, day of the week, that's the 6th day, it's Sunday, and day in the year, it goes from 0 to 365, and daylight standard time or some offset with the time will be like that. Now my MicroPython is connected. When I connect that again, and when I run it, it will print it like that. This one says time.time. Every time you need it, it will print from January 1st, 1970 at 0:00 hour, 0 minute, and 0 second of UTC time until now. All the seconds, if you count them, so these are number of seconds from that time. If I run it again, you see 3 seconds passed, now 35 more seconds passed. So this will print that, and every time you need to compare time, we get this time or convert a variable or time to this kind of number, then we can compare very easily. Now we can also create our own time based on some information that we have. Remember all this information, now we have it in here, and all the value, we create our time tuple and then bring that in here, and we say time.makeTime from this tuple. Or you can put all the values directly in here if you don't want to create a variable, and this will generate the seconds for you in here, and we can print it. Now let me print it so you can see it. So here, this is the number of seconds. These are number of seconds from 1970 until this time. Now if you want to compare two time, here we can see the difference between this and this time. Let's do it. And here I've created new seconds using time.makeTime, and this time I did not put it in a variable, I just put it directly here. That is 2024. This was 23 and I put this 24, 18th of August at 0 hour 0 minutes and second, the first day of the week, and 150th day of year, and I call this the whole thing as seconds 2, and we want to subtract the seconds 2 is 2024, so that's the larger, minus this time from this second, and it will give us the difference between them, and difference is this many seconds between these two times. And if I run it as many times as I want, it will not change because this is a fixed value. And from this, we can also divide it by 60 to get minutes, divided by 60 to get hours, and 24 divided by 24 will give you days, and you can do calculations if you want. Thank you for watching a Raspberry Pi Pico lesson from Robojax. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and thumb up the video. You can wait a few seconds, the next lesson will start automatically, or click on the link to proceed now.